everybody, it's the ReNew View. Thanks so much for watching. We've got a great show for you today, and of course, the lovely ladies of the View are back. We're excited, aren't we?
We're excited.
Yes, we are. We're
Very excited because we've got a new format. But before we get to that, we do want to tell you about our church. We're located here in Marietta, Georgia, and we have our service at 11 a.m. on Sundays, and at 10 a.m. we have Sunday school. And then on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. we have Bible study.
Oh yeah,
it's been
great
going
time.
great.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yes.
We have been learning all of these different religions.
Yes,
to learn
it's been
Islam,
great.
And Mormonism.
Mormonism, Jehovah's Witness.
Yes.
And I think next week we're going to be talking about the authenticity of the
Yes.
Bible.
Yes, we
Yes.
be great.
It's going to be
Really
awesome.
awesome.
So we definitely want to see you here. Now, of course, I've been talking about that new format. Well, if some of you have been watching, you'll know that last weekend we asked you to submit questions through our Facebook page and through Twitter. And we asked you to submit questions surrounding Jesus Christ and Christianity. And we were overwhelmed by the responses, weren't we?
Great
questions.
Oh, it was great. Great questions. So we're really excited about this. You know, it was our pastor's heart to make sure that she was answering the questions that you had about Christianity and making sure you knew the truth.
That's right.
So that's what you're going to be hearing from us today. Now, we are going to be covering the sermon. That's our normal format, but it's interesting because our pastor covered several of the questions today in the sermon. And so as we dissected, we will be highlighting those areas that are answering your questions. And towards the end, if we have not answered some of those questions just yet, we will be answering those as well. So you want to stay tuned, watch the whole show. We're going to get right to it, aren't we?
Amen. We are.
Yes.
To it.
Yes.
Okay. Pastor came out the bat. I mean, swinging. The title of this sermon or this series was A Journey to Victory.
That was awesome.
And I'm already excited now. I'm like, yes, my journey to victory. That's participation. How I'm gonna get that Jesus. But the example she gave was not only hilarious, but very informative. She started the example with her and this girl right here on the treadmill. They were both running, and Pastor felt like, hey, this Janiyah getting in pretty good. Let me step my game up a little bit. So Pastor's working hard, she's sweating. Janiyah's working up there. I was sweating. And appeared to be working hard. But in actuality, when you look at the feet, Pastor's feet going really bad, and Janiyah's feet going somewhat kind of fast.
Yes.
So it basically, I'm just sorry. But the whole point was, not comparing our journey to someone else, because on the surface,
Excuse me.
You excused.
Okay.
I'm excused.
Okay. So we have this thing called Big Girl Shuffle. Okay, move your feet real slow, move your arms real fast. Nobody can tell the difference. Okay? You put your sweat on. You're running. My football coach not fussing. Everybody's good. Okay. Now.
Listen. Okay, I'll go down. Okay, y'all know about Big Girl Shuffle. Okay, now you got it. Okay, but it's so easy to get caught up in look at the surface of someone else's journey.
Right.
Yes.
And the whole point she was trying to express is that don't get caught up looking at the surface of things, because when you really get to the bottom of things, it may be quite different.
Yeah.
Right.
That people may appear to go through that journey with the ease, just like it's so easy for them.
Yeah.
But for you, like you're going really hard, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So I thought it was really good about not comparing our journeys to someone else.
And that's
Right.
awesome
Yes.
because you compare, listening to that, I can see that has happened to me, especially in the workplace. When I'm thinking I'm working hard, but then I turn around to my left or my right and I see another coworker that's working harder. Actually, they're working extra hard, and I'm thinking to myself, I cannot sit there and just let them work extra hard. And I thought I was working hard. What happened? But they're swinging boxes here and there, and I'm doing the very best that I can, but I'm trying to step it up a notch. But it comes to show that that person wasn't even going through protocol.
Wow.
They weren't even going through doing the right directions.
Or doing it the right way.
Doing it the right way.
Yeah.
So we always have to not compare ourselves to others and know the journey that we have, and know that the calling that God has given us
Yes.
in the direction that He wants us to go.
And people go through things differently. Some people can go through things with a smile on their face. Others, you can see it on their face. You know what I mean? So that's just one of those things where you just got to worry about you and do what you need to do.
Stay your lane.
Stay your lane.
Yeah, you have to the way Pastor was saying is that, you know, everybody has to know the speed of their journey
Amen.
to
Yes.
victory.
Amen. That's awesome.
That's a great point. That makes me think of one of the questions that the viewer asked, and it reads, how do you stay patient and trust Jesus when Jesus told you he was going to do something for you and it hasn't happened yet?
Wow. And I think Pastor went through that through the sermon about these men having two different journeys. And we have the first one, we have Elijah, who just came off this huge victory when God really showed through him the prophets of Baal and kind of destroyed the prophets of Baal at this time, and even brought forth the rain that I think they were experiencing a drought through this time, and Elijah even this time saw the rain cloud coming. So you have where this, you know, Elijah's coming off two victories here.
Yes.
And immediately after those two victories, you know, the enemy's like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you have at this time where Elijah, you know, had this huge victory, and now the enemy's after him and chasing
Yes.
him.
And that's so unique, because sometimes, you know, we can sit there and the very thing that we have been delivered from, start running from. Like
Yeah.
God has delivered us from that, but then we're running from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so that's very unique.
Yeah, and the whole thing of Pastor was trying to, you know, tell us at this particular point in this story is to make sure that you don't operate out of fear. Make sure your next steps are not in fear, because you find Elijah in this cave, which is not where he's supposed to be at all.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
then you have what she brought in this whole Paul example, where you have Paul on his way to Rome experienced this huge storm, and Elijah experienced a wind, an earthquake, and a fire. And all these things were to get Elijah to come before God.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Paul, you know, took these calamities and took these things as a way to retreat. And God said, "No, I want you to bring you forth right now. I want to talk to you, Elijah." And so you have, you know, the things in our life that we think God is punishing us, or the things in our life that happen that we think it's time now to retreat. And those are the very things that God is saying, "No, I'm using these calamities in your life to bring you to me."
Yes.
To get you out of this
It's,
spot.
and it's interesting because there are two questions here that really apply to that. One of the questions reads, how do we learn to let go and let God? And the other question was, you know, how to respond to the no's and the not yet.
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
The very loaded questions.
Yeah.
One thing that Pastor expressed is, one, you know, knowing your purpose in God and not being deterred by the currents and by the trials and tribulations.
Yes.
Right.
Like the whole Paul situation.
That's right.
Paul knew and had a desire to go to Rome.
Yes.
Yeah.
God agreed with him that, yes, Paul, you are going to Rome.
Yes.
And you
But it's
find,
how he went.
yeah,
He went in chains.
yeah.
How did he know at the beginning of his journey, you know, that he was going to be going to Rome in
chains?
chains?
I know.
Not as a free man.
No, and
In his prison.
I guess, you know, even in that, when you know that you're going to a place and God is saying, yes, you're going to a place, you can't be discouraged about things that happen in your life you didn't think would bring you to that place.
Right.
Because prison was the very thing that God set up for him to go to Rome.
Yeah.
So I guess it really encouraged me that even, you know, we have this plan for our life to go a certain place, and things may happen to discourage us, or they may discourage us, not
Yeah.
they meant
Right.
to discourage us.
Yeah.
But things
Right.
happen, we're like, this is not the way I thought I would go here.
Yeah.
And that be the very step God has for you to get to the place that He said you're going to go. So I thought it was really awesome
That's
in that
good.
part of the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
So even that Paul, but he gets shipwrecked.
Yeah, you know, just jumping in on that, you know, with Paul, you know, there were two examples. You
Yeah.
spoke about Elijah. Paul, of course, was the second example. And with Paul in chains, he actually told them before they set off to Rome,
Wow.
don't go yet.
Yeah.
You know, God is saying, don't go yet. There's a storm coming.
Yeah.
And of course, the soldiers didn't listen to him.
No.
And the very thing that he said would happen happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that wind started blowing, and they tried to actually hide under an island,
Wow.
close to an island.
Wow.
But, you know, and some of us do that. You know, God says don't do something, and we sort of step out a little bit,
Yeah.
but then there's a little
Yeah.
bit of disobedience, you know,
Yes.
step close to that island. We hadn't quite gone fully,
Yeah.
but, you know, it's still a situation where they didn't obey.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, one of the things Pastor was sharing with us is our disobedience can very well put us in the wind and in the storm.
Yeah.
And, you know, where we end up literally almost shipwrecked with some of the things that are going on in their lives.
I thought it was awesome that how Pastor, how God told Paul, no, not yet.
Yes.
I didn't go wrong.
Yeah.
But this is going to be shipwrecked right now.
Right.
And I thought it was kind of awesome that God would tell you go to a place, and God will also say, no, not yet.
Yes.
You have to be very careful that you listen to the voice of God in your destination. Because there are times when God
that's
say,
right.
go ahead, yes, you go in there.
Yes.
Right.
And there are times we say no, not yet, because either the place is not ready for you yet,
Yeah.
you're not ready for it yet.
Right.
We don't even know why God is saying wait, but we have to trust God that when He says wait, He says wait, you're gonna get there,
Yeah.
but just wait for a little while. And because like Paul example, a storm's coming.
Yeah.
You're gonna be shipwrecked.
Yeah.
There's gonna be things lost in this, but because of the people who were navigating the ship, the sailor,
Right.
like Paul, you're talking about we
Yeah.
got cargo on this
Right.
ship, we gotta make this money, honey.
Right.
Ain't no time to wait. You got to go right now.
Mhm.
So I think I can make it because I got skills and I
Right.
navigate the seas.
Right.
Right.
So I'm about to run this, and I guess you gotta be careful that your own skill set in this example, that your own skill set calls you to know the voice of God because of the potential loss you make, the potential
Right.
loss that you think you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we can get caught up in those things.
Yeah.
We can
And
get caught
we've
up
all done that.
in those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And it causes us to not have a sensitive ear when it comes down to listening to the word of God or listening to His audible voice.
Yes.
We have to be more sensitive in those areas, especially when we find ourselves in a crucial place. We have to make sure that we are sensitive to the voice of God.
Well, sometimes we don't even hear you. Well, sometimes you can't hear the voice of God. You pray, and I like the fact that we can call our pastor and say, I really don't know what God is
On the garden
Can
coming
you
in there.
please
Yeah.
tell me?
You're right,
Yeah.
because one of the things the pastor was talking about is that when Paul warned the soldiers, they didn't even hear the warning.
Right.
That's what the scripture says.
Right.
They didn't even hear that warning.
But the great thing about it is that Paul got that anyhow.
Yeah.
You know the
Yes.
church gonna
Yeah.
be victorious, but what Pastor says that what do you do when you caught up in a storm of your own doing?
Yes.
Yes.
And I thought it was all true. So this is 3 steps for us.
Yes.
Yes.
And one was cutting off. One is drawing your skiff in.
Yeah.
Right.
And for those who know what skiff is, I had no idea what a skiff
None of
is.
us
What a
did.
skiff
But
is.
it's what the scriptures call.
I read it in the Bible. I just kind of glanced over that part.
Right.
But yeah, you bring the skiff in.
Right.
SKIFF. That's right.
Yes.
Yes. But back in that time, a skiff was back in those times they had these huge ships. They could not hold all the anchors. So they had a little boat that trailed them behind the big boat, and the little boat was the skiff, and they carried the anchors. And the whole point of that whole skiff was that it would cause during the voyage in the sea, it would cause a smoother sail.
Right.
The whole air
To weight it.
Yeah,
Right.
the whole air current. There's a draft that's behind the ship, so they will have a little skiff there that would cause a smoother journey.
But it's a problem.
But it's a problem in the storm.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Because there's things, and the comparison she was making is there are things obviously that we might be dragging.
Yes.
In the middle of the storm, there's some things you're going to have to pull in,
Pull in,
get
yes.
rid of.
Get
And
rid of
those
that.
things that cannot be pulled in
Yeah.
need to be cut
You
Cut.
away.
Yeah, cut
Yeah.
the skiff
Right.
away.
Yeah, just
That's
cut
it.
it away.
Pull it
Yeah.
in, but you
Yeah.
pull the skiff in.
Because
Yeah.
because in a
Yes.
storm, if it's not together and sync, it can destroy the vessel.
Yes, it
right.
can.
It can
It will rip it apart.
Rip it apart.
Yes.
So I thought it was pretty awesome. Like, yeah, I know what skip is, and there's a lot. There's my life that I didn't bring in, and it won't be brought in. It's the purpose
Yeah.
of God.
That's
I
right.
Cut it on loose.
That's right.
Yeah.
She was saying, on the journey, when the journey becomes a storm,
Yes.
there's relationships and things, and whatever decisions we made before that storm happened, some things have to be pushed away.
Yes.
Yes.
Pulled in.
Pulled in.
Taken away.
It may have been for us at a
at a certain
time,
time.
Yes.
but right now in this particular
Moment.
season
Yeah.
or this moment, it's either gonna draw itself in,
Yes.
or either we're gonna have to cut that away.
That's
right.
Because this
That's
storm
right.
is tossing us.
Yes.
You know, getting torn up.
It's
You know.
Right.
so important.
Awesome. And I think the next
Just
one
to
she
keep
told us
going.
about undergirding.
Undergirding.
Yes.
Undergirding. Finding yourself a good church home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, man. Good church home
And
can
with that
do
undergirding,
wonders for you, honey.
that's when
Yeah.
they would take the ropes and they would take the
Wrap
ropes
around.
and wrap it around the boat.
Man.
And you can imagine taking rope and wrapping it around. That's kind of hard, but that was able to undergird the
Yeah.
ship
Yeah.
itself.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And she was making that comparison in, when we're in the middle of a storm, having, a group of people or pastor or church that comes even in the middle of your storm to take that rope while the water is slapping you back and forth,
Yes.
and go under that boat. Just the image is huge here in the scriptures. Go under that boat and over that boat and under that boat. And she was explaining that that's what somebody does that undergirds you in prayer while you're rocking and reeling.
Yeah.
They're with you in that boat
Yeah.
just keeping you stable in the midst of it.
And that way it's in them too. It's in them. It's in you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What spoke to me about that was the rudders thing, because in order to undergird the boat, you had to bring the rudders in, which is your ability to
Your
steer.
sail.
Yeah.
And I thought it was also because your disobedience one got you into the storm.
That's
You
right.
thought you knew the waters, you don't know jack about these waters, because
That's
storm
right.
coming. So
Right.
it stands the reason that, to me, that if your disobedience got you into these seas, that you ask God, I'm not trying to navigate myself out this storm, because evidently I don't know it all.
Yeah.
So you're saying put yourself in, hug in tight, and trust God to bring you through this storm. That it's not about my power, my insight anymore, my intelligence. It's not about that anymore, because
That's right.
I thought I
It's the
had
storm.
that.
Yeah.
And I got myself in this place, and now it's about buckling into God. Take me through this thing.
Yeah.
You lead me and you got me.
But
Yeah.
the freedom that you feel though when you do that, when you finally say, "All right, I'm done.
Yeah.
You got it."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is an amazing feeling. It just takes the weight off. Talking about lay your burdens down. That's what that
They
is.
did. They tossed it to the sea.
I'm trying to
That's right, because in the story, it says that they literally threw their navigation tools overboard.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the point
The
of
third step.
Yes,
Yeah.
the third step, throwing everything overboard.
Line your load.
That's
Yes.
right, lighten your load, because even their navigation tools were too heavy
Yeah.
for this boat. They would have
Yes.
sunk.
Man.
Yeah.
So really, just in the midst of the storm, it's like what you're both saying is releasing it to God.
Amen.
You now be the navigator, because I no longer all I thought I knew
That's
is
right.
not
That's right.
helping
Right.
in this here
Yeah,
storm.
that's
Yeah.
So even throwing over those navigation tools, pulling down the sail.
And things that hold you down, like whether it is that
Everything.
relationship hold you down, throw it, like
That's
I'm
right.
tossing this overboard, honey.
Even if it's your skill set, like you were
Yeah.
talking, the skill set, what you know is going to help you to
Right.
fix this boat after it's done.
That's right.
You know, taking that and throwing it aside, saying,
Amen.
you know what, I'm not really sure how this boat gonna get fixed, but I know for a fact God is gonna do it.
Yeah.
And throw those things aside,
Yeah.
because we may have the education, we may have the knowledge, we may be able to speak well, we may be able to, we know the business plan, we know the business idea inside and out, but to be able to say, you know what, God, I made some bad decisions. And I gotta take all this. I thought I knew it. And take all
Right,
those tools
right.
and throw those out,
Right.
lighten that load.
Wow. Yeah.
Right.
Emptying ourselves so we can let God in.
I'm ready for not the rest of the steps. Three
There are
steps.
more. But the important thing is that we know He got there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got there.
That's our
Yes.
hope.
Yeah.
With all of this going on, there's the book of Romans.
Yes.
So He got to Rome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what Pastor was sharing.
Yeah.
Even though the disobedience was there,
Yeah.
he got the wrong, the sailors got the wrong.
Right.
We know that story. We know that for a
Right.
fact that they got there. But knowing those steps, like you said, yes, we want to know the rest of those steps.
Right.
Knowing those steps are crucial. If they hadn't went through those steps, who would have known what had happened?
Right.
The undergirding, pulling in the rears, pulling in the skills.
Yes.
Yes.
Pulling that in.
I don't know.
The overload. It was needed.
Yes.
Yes, it was needed. It's necessary.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes,
It's good stuff.
really good.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. And we were able to talk about a number of the questions that came through, and there was a couple of more questions that we're going to answer. We're going to get to all of your questions. One of the ones that I wanted to tackle was one that we were talking about, where we were talking about church and undergirding.
Right.
And there are a lot of people out there, as the viewer states here, there are a lot of people who have been hurt by the church or people in the church. Consequently, the viewer says, it has turned them off to church and Christianity in general. How do you get people in that situation to come back to the church?
Wow.
What do you say to them?
Wow. Well, as a person who have experienced church hurt, when you come into a place of God, people are not perfect, and you have this idea that church people never hurt you.
Right.
Like we're different from everybody else, and we are in that a place where we receive help from. And we're not outside calling each other pain. We're not outside calling each other hurt. We do that,
Yeah.
But God's perfecting us in this, and we allow God to say, God, change my heart. And I think church is a place where it's full of hypocrites. They need to be in church.
Right.
Yeah.
I need to be in church.
Yeah.
Because I heard people, whether it's directly or indirectly, I think I'm doing the right thing, and sometimes I'm doing the wrong thing.
And Did you peek at the questions?
No, I didn't.
Because you're hitting on another question. I gotta get to it because I know we
Yeah.
got people out there looking right now in anticipation of us talking about these, but you hit it right on the head. There's another question that another viewer said, how can you call yourself a Christian
Wow.
and actively work to harm your neighbor, either directly or indirectly? You can see a lot of people experiencing hurt
Wow.
amongst Christians.
You know what? I love God. I'm a Christian. I know the person asking this question probably love God too.
Yes.
And I've done things that have hurt people indirectly.
That's true.
Like I'm sure they probably have done things they thought was the best intentions, and someone else being hurt too. And it's like we're not outside of hurting each other, but I thank God that we have a Savior that can work those imperfections out of us.
Yes.
And that when I harm you, that God can also heal you, and God can also correct me.
Right.
And I
Yes.
like that in God there's hope in that. That all is not lost when we make mistakes or failures. That God is about healing broken pieces.
That's
right.
Healing you, healing me
good.
from causing you to hurt, and healing you
Yes.
for the hurt that I caused.
That's
Right.
And I thank God that it needs to be, it needs to be really centered on Jesus Christ. And they know that a family.
Yeah.
It's a family.
Yeah.
family.
Cause-
Yeah, exactly.
Even my
Yeah.
natural stuff, we hurt each other all the time. I love my
That's
brother and
right.
sister, but we fight
That's
sometimes.
We do.
But we love each other.
Yeah.
And we know that you love
We do.
me.
Because you know family.
Yeah.
You know
They
my
do you
Yeah,
wrong
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, but I like the
Yeah.
fact that here ReNew, that we are a family of
Believers.
believers
Yeah.
building an
Building an
empire of Christ.
Right.
And when you hurt me, you still my family.
That's
You don't
right.
work it out.
Yeah.
Still my family.
It's love and forgiveness.
I ain't gonna
we
push
do.
you.
Yes, definitely. And as you forgive, I'm thinking of the next question. Forgiveness is the next question that one of the viewers sent in. I'm going to read it, and it says, "Is there any room for forgiveness when you mess up on the same sin more than once?"
And that really takes me to the cross.
Yes.
And how the blood of
Absolutely.
Jesus
Yes.
would never
Never
lose its
power.
power.
Never lose
Absolutely.
power.
Never lose its
And I thank
power.
God for
Yes.
that. I thank God that there is no sin that we can commit that God would not forgive us of.
Absolutely.
Yes, His blood covers
Everything.
and everything.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And because of that blood that He shed for us, and because He forgives us of every sin, it motivates us to say, God, I don't want to do this
Yes.
anymore. That
Yes.
my
Anymore.
aim now is to please you.
Yes.
I don't want to
Right.
disappoint you. I love you, God, and it motivates me not to commit sin.
Yes, because I can remember, or I know sins that I've done, and I was like, God, you forgive me about that?
Yeah.
I thought that was too
Absolutely.
big. Really?
Yes.
No, I don't think you understand, God. I really did this.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I am dirty.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
your blood gonna clean me up like that, and it's awesome. It's an awesome feeling. I don't know if even being in His presence, it's like a renewing spirit
really is.
that to be cleansed by His blood is awesome.
Yes.
And to know that you can continue
Right.
on and knowing His grace and knowing His love. You don't want to disappoint Him, like you said. You don't want to disappoint Him. You don't want to let God down, even though we know that we cannot,
Amen.
simply because of who He is.
Right.
And we can't
Yeah.
walk; He walks for us.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come
You know,
on.
so I'm
Come on.
always amazed at how good God is.
Amen.
And because I'm
Absolutely.
always amazed on how good God is, it causes me to want to be better.
Amen.
Constantly
Come on,
want to
come on.
grow in
Amen.
Him. So it's
Yes,
awesome.
absolutely. So now we have one more question. This is the final question from a viewer, and I think we have all heard this question at some point in our circles, in immediate family, or just talking with friends.
What question is this?
About to give it to you now,
Okay.
Glenda. The viewer writes in, "What does Jesus Christ look like?"
Like me. Okay, he was like me,
He's
probably.
of Mediterranean descent,
Absolutely.
Yes.
you know,
Middle
Arabian.
or Arabian,
Middle Eastern.
Middle Eastern.
Right.
Yes. That was his.
I got something in my blood too. I was right. I'm kidding. I'm black.
We
But
know
we
that,
do
Glenda.
know that He ranges from of olive tone skin to the darkest of midnight.
He could have.
stars. You know, he could
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, this has been great, ladies. Have we had a good time with this?
Had a good time.
Yes,
It's been-
great.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely. We enjoyed reading these. A lot of these were questions that I had myself, and so it was really great to dive into it. Next week we are going to also be asking you to chime in again on another topic. We really hope that you got something out of this, got more truth to help you as you go in your walk. And of course, you can always come here and sit right in the sanctuary and get the word from our pastor, Pastor Durham, who fills us up. Yes, every week. We enjoy being here. So we want to say thank you so much for watching. You've been watching the ReNew View.